These two young one right here, young draft. We started 3 draft picks, and they should be proud of themselves. And I just think, that's why we drafted them, and we trust them to come in and contribute, and you know, they're gonna get better. We're just scratching the surface with it.
Welcome to Red Stars Report, a podcast dedicated to bringing you the latest news and commentary on all things Chicago Red Stars. I'm your host, LT. Grant is off this week, but don't worry, you can catch Grant repping Red Stars Report live on CHGO Red Stars today, Tuesday, June 18th at 3:30 Central Time. So go and check that out if you have the chance today. But as is usually the case when Grant is unavailable, joining me tonight is my good friend Liz, who is joining me tonight for the first time after the Red Stars have done something other than a loss. But not only that, this is Liz's first Red Stars Report as an official co-host of the podcast. So let's all congratulate Liz on joining us as a member of our team.
Happy to be here. Glad to be part of it. It was fun filling in, but now to be official, let's go. Let's get some more wins. I'd like to actually do a win here. This is a draw. It felt like a win, but that's why I said let's get another win. But it's still a draw. But yes, I'm happy to talk about something other than a loss this time.
Yeah, we're really happy that you're joining the team here at Red Stars Report, and I'm especially happy that I can at least have a full conversation with you on one of these podcasts that isn't just about a loss. The Red Stars get the early lead, hold on to it going into the half. They lose it 15 minutes into the second half, but score 90th minute to bring home a point. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. You just heard Liz say it. I love when draws feel like wins. It happened with the Orlando match. That one felt like a win, our only other draw in the season. And taking home a point against the top of the table, KC Current, after a 3-game losing streak must feel really good for both players and fans.
Yeah, I think it truly feels like a win. I'm sure the players kind of feel that way too. I feel like getting off to that strong start at the beginning of the game was kind of a change of pace for us. We've kind of been slow, so that was really good to see. Mal was just all over it. Heck of a shot. But yeah, especially in their new stadium. That's the thing. Like, it's loud. Their fans are rowdy. Their fans are just all up in your face the whole game, it feels like, as players. Like, you could really hear them through the TV. And so to get a draw in that stadium is a huge deal. I know that the Red Stars typically play better away as well, so I'm not surprised. But since they are a team that has not lost this season, I think it's a big momentum shift for the Red Stars moving forward.
Yeah, I was like, once they got that lead 5 minutes in, like, my heart was pounding that entire half. It's annoying that they tied it, and then I was like, okay, maybe I can relax a little because I'm not panicking anymore. And then they lost Kansas City gained the lead just a few minutes into the half. But I felt like the entire time that, even though, like, the Red Stars are never really like a team that goes and scores in the run of play. It's always on the counter or something. And I just felt like when they were bringing in, like, the subs, and it seemed like everybody apart from like 2 or 3 players really still had like the energy and the drive to keep fighting. I felt like they were going to do something. And then in the 90th minute, Mal takes a corner, Sam heads it home, and they come away with a draw. I think that is their first set piece goal, I think. maybe second. They're not very good at
Me,
it. I know that
no, I
much.
don't. There's, yeah, it's definitely not something that happens frequently. And Sam Staub is not super tall. So for her, she just wanted it more on that play. She just wanted the ball more and she got after it. And Kansas City's a little leaky when it comes to corner kicks, set pieces. They give up goals that way. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of not surprised that I can't remember what the stat is, but I know that they've given up quite a few of their goals this year on set pieces and corner kicks. So Sam just definitely got after it. And I mean, good for her, and also as her first goal for the Red Stars.
Yeah, that was important. And I think what was also important is early in the season, it was like Mal was taking set pieces on one side of the field, Sam was taking set pieces on the other side of the field, and they've slowly gotten away from that. It's now been all Mal all the time, and that allows a player like Sam, who is good in the air, to be in the box for those opportunities, and it worked out. It worked out really well.
Yeah, it was just a solid play. I think that Mal's corners are getting better as we're moving forward. She had some pretty good ones this game. And yeah, Staub's just better in the box, minus her throw-ins. We we
Right.
we we want her in the box. But
Those are set pieces in
yeah,
reality.
right. Exactly. Exactly. But yeah, she looked so excited. And she doesn't post on social media all that often, but I saw that she made a post about getting her first goal. So it clearly was meaningful to her.
Yeah, that's good. It's definitely good. And I did want to talk about the new formation that the Red Stars sported this weekend. Usually we see them playing in like a 4-2-3-1, 4-2-4 sort of positioning, but they came out this match with a 4-4-2, which we haven't seen them play yet, and with different players as well. What did you think of that formation change and what it sort of did for them?
It gave me more confidence in Lorne, to be honest, because I feel like we've been really stagnant in what we've been doing. It's kind of just the same thing. We're kind of interchanging a couple players here and there. It hasn't been working. So I saw the lineup and I was like, okay, we're going young. We're sitting some people that we definitely don't normally sit. And I like it because I don't think anybody gave us a shot to win this game at all or even get a draw. So why not try something? And guess what? It worked. And I also would say that doing something wild and crazy like this and changing your formation and throwing players out there, if you're going to play against a coach like Vlatko Andonovski, who's notorious for not knowing how to adapt during a game, that's the coach you do it against.
It's true. That is very true. I liked how it was something that had been discussed in previous weeks, especially with Lorne, about like you'd ask him like what's going to change, how do you change this, how do you fix things, and there'd be like little minor tweaks here and there, maybe a player swapped out of the lineup, but we haven't seen something. I wouldn't call like a formation change drastic, but it was definitely noticeable, like a noticeable difference. You could tell they were playing differently, especially against a team like uh, Kansas City. It gave players more freedom to sort of move between the lines. It gave Mal more like isolation opportunities across the entire field. And against a team like the Current, it really helped with like the defensive rotation at times because those outside midfielders like Sarah and Leilani were able to either move centrally and fill holes, or they could cover um, the backs on the right or left side if they were pushing high. It really gave players a lot more freedom to just move around the field a lot, and it wasn't so like planted feet, like this is my position, I will stay here, or I'll just drop back. It was more lateral movement, and I liked it.
Yeah, I would say also having 4 in the midfield is really helpful just because obviously Kansas City is they've got a dominant midfield, they've got a dominant front line. To have those extra players be able to drop back or clog up the midfield a little bit, not let them get to where they want to go exactly. And I think that was really helpful. I noticed at times that Hawking was even kind of rotating back onto that midfield line and swapping positions with players from time to time. That fluidity seems to be a thing that a lot of teams are doing now, with a lot of rotation even across the front line or from midfield to front line. And it's good to see us doing that because we have the players that can make that happen. And it was also really fun to see, not fun, but Mal was really taking a leadership role last night. She was definitely telling players what to do and having conversations with them during stoppages. And to see her, even she's so young, we forget how young she truly is, but she has become such a leader on this team. And it was really good to see her. And I think Hawking and Mal are really starting to figure it out. I was a little hesitant during the Wrigley game watching them, but it feels like they kind of figured something out during this week of practice.
Yeah, I liked the having those two up top compared to just Penelope up top or just Allie up top, depending on the rotation that they were having during the match. I thought it worked well for them as a pairing. It did seem like Penelope was kind of invisible at times during the match, but that's the nature of the Red Stars. Like, they're not a team that gets forward very well. They had another bad match in reality at moving the ball forward and progressing it forward. So the only time you saw Penelope was on like high when she was high pressing, or if she was in that midfield spot having rotated. It was nice to see a a connection between her and Mal. Like, she was always sort of keeping pace with Mal. Um, I think Penelope would have had a lot more opportunities against another team because a player like Balasagar was just probably the only person I've seen been able to keep pace with Penelope. Like, Penelope's always like sprinting for a loose ball that's just knocked down the field, and Balasagar was the only player I've seen actually catch up to Penelope consistently throughout an entire match. And against another team, against a different player, I think she would have had a lot more opportunities to get forward.
Yeah, I think it was really interesting. Part of me was like, I kind of wish I would have seen this formation against Bay. I wish we would have done this in that game because I would have wondered how. I think it would have gone better. I think that game as a whole would have gone better. I'll be curious to see if Lauren does this moving forward or if it was just out of necessity since Ali Schlegel was out sick. But I think that it's something we have in our back pocket now as an option formation wise that we can kind of even float into from time to time.
Yeah, I asked Lauren post match about the formation change and kind of what he thought it brought to the team.
I thought it worked well tonight. I mean, obviously we got 2 goals out of it, and so I mean, it's not a negative. So, and we just spent 2 3 days on it. So hopefully, we can switch formation. We can do different stuff, but at least we can play a different formation.
He kind of said like, we scored 2 goals, so obviously it worked well for us. I don't know if the formation actually really had anything to do with them scoring 2 goals, uh but nonetheless, like, it sounded like he was happy to see something come out of a tactical change like that.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it gives confidence to him. It gives confidence to the players, us as fans. It gives confidence. I just think sometimes a change of pace is just what you need, and so maybe this is just what we need. Will we keep the same players out there? That will also be an interesting thing if we continue this formation because there were some newbies out there. We threw the rookies out there and said, "Okay, show me what you got."
It was Hannah Anderson's second consecutive start, and that moved Natalia to her more natural right back position. B. Franklin got her first professional start.
The coaches let me know that hopefully I was going to get a few more minutes in this game. So, I mean, my mentality for every game is the same. Just keep it really simple, win as many balls as possible, and get it to the good players. So I wasn't going to do anything different whether I came in at the end or started. I mean, I play against some of the best people in the world at practice every day, so it's definitely a little bit different being in a game, but I get challenged just as much at practice, so I think I get prepared for it pretty well every day.
And Sarah Griffith got her first start and her first minutes since April 13th against Angel City. So a lot of new-ish faces um, on each line. It was interesting to watch a different midfield sort of play. I think they still had the same issues that they've always had with, it seems like this team a lot of the times just gets the ball at their feet and they're like, let me just punt this in a direction. We'll see what happens. There's no, consistent build up. There's no holding and waiting. But I thought a player like Sarah Griffith changed that at times. She's a player who's very calm on the ball and likes to draw in defenders to work around them with her footwork so she can get something moving forward. And we haven't seen any players in the midfield sort of do that this season. So it was nice to watch her get minutes and be successful in that role. Get especially getting the assist on that Mal goal. I think that was really good for her confidence. And I don't know if we'll see her in that same role again. I think it would be wise to see her in that same role again, just to see what she can build on. But it was really nice to see Sarah get her first minutes in a very long time.
Yeah, Sarah, I think Sarah's earned it. I think that spot specifically was a good place for her. She even almost created her own goal during the game as well. She had a really tough angle and didn't get it on frame, but she still created an opportunity, and that's all you can ask for. And that's what we want. We want to see more offensive chances, and she created some, and obviously she had that assist to Mal. So that was also great. I just think to see more movement in the midfield, but the passing just across the board was horrendous for most of the game. And it just seems like, yeah, as you said, with the midfielders, I like to call it that they like to play hot potato, that it's like as soon as they get it, they're trying to get rid of it.
Yeah.
And they don't even care where it's going. And it's almost like, well, if I kick it forward, maybe Penelope or Mal is going to just run onto it and it's going to do something good. And that's kind of just the game plan, because it's like, I don't want it. And I will say, watching B. Franklin play, getting her first start, she brings to me, as a comparison to another player on the Red Stars that plays defense, she reminds me a little bit of Maxi Rawl and how she plays.
Okay.
She's a taller player. She brings a physicality. She might not have the greatest skill set when it comes to handling the ball, but she's going to get after it. She's going to get in there and she's going to get in the mix. And I like to see the effort. It might not always work out, but at least you're trying to make something happen.
Yeah, she goes to ground a lot for such a tall player, which is so interesting to watch. Um, it kind of makes you go like, like, like what's gonna happen here? Because like a player with her size is like going down and tackling you. That's gotta hurt. And it, like you said, it her presence in the midfield was felt at times, I think, defensively, maybe not so much offensively. It was just one of those, like, same situation, got the ball and very quickly just got rid of it somewhere, which leads to the team overall having that bad passing accuracy. Like, I didn't look at the final number, but the passing was probably the worst of the season, I would imagine. And it had a lot to do with the midfield, and our uh, outside backs were not passing very well either.
I looked at halftime and I did not look at the end of the game, but there was, I think, 2 people on the entire lineup that had over 60% pass accuracy, and there were a lot of people floating in the 50s. It was not good.
That's
Really
bad.
bad. Really bad.
That's really, really bad. I'm gonna look at the final passing accuracy real quick. 59%. Yikes. That's not good.
That checks out to what I was saying.
Yeah, that definitely checks out. I think it will be nice to see this formation. I would guess that it'll probably be the same players outside of if Ali Schlegel is healthy and back from her illness this weekend. She'll probably swap out with B. And so it'll be interesting to watch how they can do better against a team like North Carolina compared to a Kansas City. But I I need something. I need everyone to be like Sarah Griffith. Like I need everyone to just be patient and calm down and not be so like ready to just get rid of the ball.
Yeah, you have to be thoughtful with your passes, and that's such an important thing. And because you don't want to give up possession, because especially in the middle of the field, that's the thing that's the worst. I will be curious. We talk about bringing in Ali Schlegel for most likely B. Do you keep Ali in the midfield, or do you drop Penelope back into the midfield and then bring Ali up top with Mal?
I think in this formation that's interesting because the flat four worked better, I thought, in the first half with Leilani playing on that far right midfield side. In the second half, when B subbed out and they brought in Shay, she kind of moved back to her like double pivot with Carrie. I think it benefited Leilani more to be on the outside, as much as she likes to be like this defensive player that goes at everyone. I think it worked out better for her on the outside to have that mentality, because if she got beat, Natalia was there to help her. And in the midfield, like in the central midfield, it's like you have Hannah Anderson behind you, who is also a rookie who made a rookie mistake in this match as well. Like, so I think maybe it's best to have experience behind the rookies or next to the rookies to sort of help them out. And so if you throw in Ali Schlegel in a lineup like this, in a formation like this, I'm not quite sure if she goes up top with Mal and Penelope maybe moves over to that right midfield and Leilani moves in, or does Ali become part of that sort of flat four double pivot with Carrie? I have no idea.
Yeah, that was when we were talking about Ali coming back, that was in my head. I'm like, okay, now what is going to happen? Because you know that Ali, if healthy, is going to be in that starting lineup. I mean, I would be very surprised if she wasn't. But then how do you make all the pieces work, or do you switch formations? That's the other option,
I don't know. I like this formation. I'd like to see more of it, I guess. I'm not like sold on it, but I'd very much like to see more of it against different opponents to sort of be more sold on it.
Well, I'm almost wondering if you could run it as like a diamond. This is me just spitballing here. And you could have Ali kind of up top and then have Leilani and Sarah out wide and then Carrie back, run a diamond formation of the four in the middle. So then Ali's like right behind the top two. And then I that's an option. That could make it work.
Sure. Yeah. I thought this was an interesting match because of Kansas City's like immense firepower offensively, it really led to Carey playing center back a lot. It was interesting to look at the maps after the match with like player positioning. I think on average, Sam was playing higher up the field than Carey was. So on the map, it almost looked like Carey was the left center back, which was wild. I think that mostly had to do with Sam playing a lot of time up for throw-ins or up for center set pieces, whereas Carey is usually that last player back during all those. Not that they had many set pieces, but that kind of calculates into the overall like field location average. I just thought it was funny to look at the whole map and it looked like Carey was our center back. But I think the just like overall the back line for how powerful Kansas City is, it it worked out in a lot of moments. I think the goals came from mistakes, and when you're just getting like absolutely hammered over and over and over again by a team like Kansas City, eventually you're going to make a mistake. In their case, they made two. Um so hopefully against another team, they won't have so much pressure on them to not make those mistakes.
Yeah, I mean the mistake that Anderson made, she's a rookie. Like asking a rookie to come into their second start and you're going with that front line coming at you, like that is a lot. And it just was relentless. It was just over and over and over. And a mistake's going to happen. It's going to happen. Sometimes it doesn't end up in a goal, sometimes it does. This one did. I'm not mad about it. I don't think she should be benched for it. I don't think anything like that. I think Hannah Anderson is going to be one of our center backs moving forward for a while. She's very talented. She's tall. It's very helpful to have tall players on the field. And also it allows Kuika to play out wide, which allows her to move up the field a little bit. And Kuika did an amazing job on Chwinga, like amazing job. And she was everywhere on the field. It felt like she was shutting everybody down as much as she could.
I I like Hannah Anderson. I really do. I think her mistake was just a rookie mistake. It's gonna happen. Um, if she doesn't make that mistake, you barely even like call her name during the match. It's she very much just sort of does her job and does it well enough for a rookie that you only give up 2 goals to the how many goals did they have before this match? 31
Insane
in the
number.
league. So if you're a rookie center back and you have to go up against Kansas City and you make one mistake that leads to a goal and your team still doesn't lose, you're good. I think you're fine. I think she is the
Right.
center back. More interestingly, our 2 center backs are now 2 left-footed center backs, which I find fascinating because usually you'll find 2 right-footed center backs or at least a left-footed center back on that left side. But now you have 2 left-footed center backs in the middle. It's not something you see all the time. It's just like a little weird, interesting tidbit that Lauren actually pointed out in the post match. He also praised Hannah Anderson a lot in that as well, which was really nice to hear.
Hannah Anderson is a very, very good center back. You know, I mean, she's a left-footed playing, you know, left-footed center back, but she's good enough to play on the right side. So, you know, and she had a lot aerial stuff and just, you know, she's a strong physical player, and you know, she brings that to the team. We needed that.
Yeah, I think that she showed a lot of poise in her 2 starts so far. I mean, it's tough when you've got all those players coming at you. And if you're a center back, as you said, like if your name's not said and nobody remembers you during the game, you did your job. that's what you want. You don't want anybody to say your name unless you're Sam Staub and you score a goal, then that's exciting. But yeah, the left-footed thing's very interesting because Alyssa Nair, when she was on the re-ink they were watching the game together with Tobin Heath, Nair was talking about how Tierna Davidson is left-footed for the national team, and how now having Sam Staub be left-footed, it just makes such a difference on the back line. So now having two left-footed center backs, she's probably like, well, now I'm right back to where I was because now I have two. But I'm sure that it's such a learning experience for Hannah to have Sam right there, who is one of the best to do it in the league, and then to have Alyssa Nair behind you, that probably gives her so much confidence. And then you've got Kuika as well. Like there's just, and Carrie, like there's surrounded by so much support.
Yeah, I really think that her having this minor success as a center back in her first 2.5 matches with the Red Stars, I think is great for the team, because the right back has sort of been, both outside back positions have sort of been in question all season. And if you can have someone who, a rookie, can come in and be solid in that center back position where Natalia has been quietly dominating all season, to then have Natalia go to the place that she, loves at right back, loves to get forward. And, she, in this match, she handled Schwinga, but also was, the guiding voice for Leilani Nesbith ahead of her, Hannah Anderson to her left. Probably not the easiest things to juggle in a match like this, but she did a fantastic job all match with what she was up against. And it's funny how, like, all season, it's just me, I'm just talking about Natalia and how great Natalia is doing at center back, and maybe she's not being noticed as much. And now she moves to right back, and suddenly she's like making those plays that are a little more noticeable, because she's more exposed over there for counterattacks, and the left winger is usually the best player on most teams, so it's, she's going to be noticed a lot more now, and her abilities. I just love the way that she moves. Like, her feet just never stop. She like moves like water when she's, when a player, cuts back or moves and tries to get around her. She just, I don't know, the way she flows, the way her body flows is just so, it's so smooth. And she's just an incredible defender.
Well, it's a good thing they were playing the current then. She moves like water.
Had to keep up with the current, had to swim against the current, really.
Right. But yeah, I think outside back is definitely more of a flashy position. Like, you can't be flashy as a center back. You're getting the ball out of there and getting it where, like, it's got to go. But as an outside back, you can kind of make those little tackles and kind of get a little up the field. And it's just, you're as you said, a little bit more exposed out there because things happen. You've got players trying to make moves on you out there, and you can look silly, and you can make the offensive player look silly. And so there's a lot more of those plays out there. Tatum also, I think, had a really solid game for the most part, as well. And to give her a little bit of a shout out, yeah, I think that it just was one of those games where somehow, some way, you look at the numbers and you're like, oh my goodness, what? And then you're like, oh, well, we got a tie, so I guess I'll take it because the numbers aren't great, but somehow we figured it out and we got 2 goals out of it, and we'll take the draw. I mean, I will take a draw against Kansas City with the lineup that they have compared to ours. Again, I don't think anybody gave us a shot to even come close in this game.
And I mean, speaking of shots, they got 2 shots on goal and scored both. So efficiency, it
100%.
100%. I wish that it had, won them the game, but I honestly, like you said, I'll take the draw, especially in especially against a team like Kansas City, especially in this time where they're on a losing streak. Lauren's trying to sort of change things up to see what could be different. They usually have these poor first halves because of energy and just the way they don't jumpstart these matches like you wish that they did. And to bring in, young players like Hannah, B, Leilani, Sarah, even, who doesn't get a whole lot of playing time, and just a different look that sort of ignited stuff here and there. Like it didn't work all the time, but you could tell throughout the first 45 minutes that everybody had the energy to keep up play. And we don't usually see that from this team.
Yeah, I said it in the Discord last night, watching the game, and I was just thinking, wow, Penelope really has so much energy. She was everywhere last night, running down every ball that she could possibly think that she had a shot at getting at. And it's so good to see. And again, I thought that B was really, really excellent with her energy. Again, it's not always the best play or whatever, but just to see players play with energy, I like to see it, especially and Sarah as well. Like when she has created opportunities and things like that, she just played with a different level of confidence during the game. And I just was like, I want to see more of that. I want to see her get more opportunity because I want to see if we can turn that into something more, especially if she can build a little bit of a connection here with Mal moving forward. That would be awesome.
I would like to see Sarah again. Also on the other side of the field as much of a Julia Bianchi fan I am, I'm not overly sold on Leilani yet, but I do love, like you mentioned, I love her energy. She didn't have it in the end, and I was waiting for her to be subbed out because she just couldn't keep up the energy near the end of the game or in that second half. But in the first half, she just she was getting at people. She was running for the ball. She was trying to be wherever the ball was, and it is a very similar style of play to Julia Bianchi, which is why I don't think it's like the worst change in the world. I think you lose a lot of progression when it comes to Leilani. She's not the best passer in the world, um, not even close. And I think defensively she is where her or where she's best. So I think it was good to have her on that far right side of the field because she could actually get her uh get in there defensively against those wingers instead of against the central attack.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting if we play an opponent where we can get a little bit forward, more offensive to see what Leilani brings to the table. I feel like we get pushed back so much that we don't see her push forward. I don't know if she wants to push forward as much. Maybe she wants to be that player that hangs back, but we can't have both her and Carrie doing that because we
Yeah.
need more people moving forward. That's going to be an issue. Like if Julia is out there, Julia wants to get forward. Julia wants to be more of an attacking player. And the passing, again, as you said, is not exactly there, but nobody really passed well last night. So I can't really harp on her that much about it because everybody was awful across the board.
So so true. The thing that I would say is I I like that we have these young players that whether they're starting or whether they're coming off the bench, they just bring something a little different to the team. we focused a lot in the early part of the season talking about this team adding veterans like Sam and Natalia to this team, or even Shea Groom, that these young players could learn from. But it was also important that we signed young players that had the mentality of like, let's go out and perform, and not just being scared to be in the pros or being timid or anything. Like, they want to be out there, they want to play, they want to win. And we've seen it from most of the rookies this season. It's really, really nice to see.
Yeah, I would like to see more Jamise Joseph. I feel like we saw a lot of her at the beginning of the season, and now it's kind of faded a little bit. She did sub in last night, but still, I'm just like, okay, I want to see more, because she brings just I don't even, she has that little it factor that I can't really put my finger on, but she just gets after it, and I love to see it. She was the surprise again. We've always talked about this of the draft, but I don't I just want to see more of her. I wanted her to get subbed in earlier in the second half, because she can make stuff happen.
I think she's a very similar player to Sarah Griffith, where she's just very calm when the ball is at her feet, and she just wants to sit and make a decision, and then either dribble around a defender or make a good pass on someone making an overlapping run or an underlapping run or something. And I think perhaps getting more minutes in a formation like this on one of those sides of the outsides of the midfield, like where Sarah was playing or where Leilani was playing, I think that may be beneficial to her. I think she would, watching a player like Sarah succeed in a role like that, I think will be beneficial to Jamise as well, to have a role like that somewhere on the field at some point in a match.
Yeah, she just, I don't know, she just brings something to the table that I really, really like. I've been a fan since she first stepped onto the field and got minutes. I was like, oh wow, she's got something to her.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll keep eating my words from those draft podcasts or afterwards, where I didn't know. I knew a little bit about her, and I was like, I'll just keep eating my words. I didn't know she was uh this kind of player. And like you said, she just has something that when you watch her play, you're like, this player with more time, more development, can be something.
She's really impressive. And the rookies to me across the board have been impressive. That I think this is a very, very solid draft class. We saw it in the game. To be able to put Hannah Anderson in the starting lineup now 2 straight games, to pop Kuika out wide, B Franklin coming in, and then just the youngsters, as we said, Sarah falls into that category. She's not a rookie, but she hasn't gotten a lot of minutes in last year or moving into this year. And just to see her go out and play with confidence, that tells me that Lauren is doing a good job as a coach to keep these players ready, even though they're not getting a lot of minutes, that they're ready to come in when duty calls. And that is, to me, is a sign of a really good coach, to keep everybody bought into the system. And so that overall to me is a really good positive.
They're so willing to just do what is asked of them. And I think doing that not only will gain their respect for or from the coaching staff, getting them more minutes, but just gaining the respect of the players around them, their teammates. They like being willing to just step up when your number is called and play wherever you're asked to play, whether it's on the left or whether it's on the right or in the center or center back, right back, wherever. Like, they go out there, they play, They want to win, and every time one of them sort of is noticed, there's Lauren in the post match just saying, look how great our rookies are. This is how we want them to play. They're doing exactly what we've asked of them.
Yep, it's really solid. I feel like we can't not talk about Alyssa Nair for a few seconds
Yep.
in this game because she was phenomenal as always. I mean, there were a few hiccups here and there, but
The one that led to the
again,
goal, but yeah.
but when you're getting shot after shot after shot after shot, mistakes are going to happen. She can't stop everything. Like it's going to happen. And so that's why the hope is to limit the shots so that she can stop everything. But unfortunately that was not the case, but still got a draw. I just think that she has been such a rock for the team this season. And that's really the only word I can use to describe her, as a rock, because she's been kind of like a wall for the most part. And it's so good to see after last year giving up that as many goals as they did. Wasn't it like leading ever
Yep.
in a season goals or something like
Something
that?
like that.
And
I think it's goal
now,
differential or something.
yeah, and now to be a lot better. It's not great, but it's a lot better than what it was last year.
I think this back line is a lot better at not giving up the easy goal. We've seen it so many times this year where it's just like an absolute rocket or a crazy angle shot that just goes in and you're like, how? That's wild. And it's like, it's not Alyssa's fault. It's not the defender's fault. Maybe it's, maybe they didn't step up enough, or maybe a midfielder didn't step up enough or something like that. But there's been so many um, moments where teams are getting so many shots off, but they're not good shots. Like we saw it in this match, so many shots that just went over the bar or went well wide because there was someone there deterring it, or at least cutting off an angle that was more comfortable. And that is what I think separates this season from last season. Because last season there were just so many times where it was just like, oh, why is a player right there wide open? Of course, there's a goal. It made no sense. It was frustrating, and Alyssa couldn't keep up with the amount of shots on goal that were coming at her. Now there's not a whole lot of shots on goal specifically. Uh, this match, she made 5 saves, I think, which is, it's not a ton of saves, but that's also not that many shots on goal compared to their 20 plus actual shots that they got off.
Yeah, it just felt like the ball was just like going around the goal. Like, but when you have defenders that are willing to do the splits out on the field, diving to cut off angles and things like that, that's what they're doing. They're cutting off the angle and they know where Alyssa's going to be. And that's the huge thing. If you are cutting off the angle to where your keeper is going to be somewhere as a defender and you cut that angle off, that's why shots or they're going to go wide, or Alyssa's going to stop it. They are so smart in how they defend. And I think it goes unnoticed at times that they are like calculated in what they're doing. They're playing this angle because they know that Alyssa is going to be standing in this part of the goal on this play. So if we come at this angle and cut this off, they're more than likely not going to score.
Yeah, I think there are like drastic differences between this year's defense and last year's defense. And it's not like you can look at last year's defense and say those players are bad players at all. Like you had Tierna Davidson, you had Casey Kruger, who are sort of the ones who are in those roles of like a Natalia Kuika or a Sam Staub now. Um, I think Sam Staub is probably a better, more brave center back. I think she's a lot more like, I will put my body on the line to do whatever it takes to get a goal blocked or a pass blocked or something. And I think when Natalia was playing center back, it is very similar, where she just is willing to do anything to make sure that ball doesn't get to goal. And last season um, we had Tatum playing center back a lot, which wasn't ideal. She's much more comfortable on the outside, and I think that played a lot into last year. So to just have like different styles of players, um, players with a little more uh, experience in the league to be in front of Alyssa, I think helps her more at this stage in her career to get back to, and we've seen it, get back to that confidence that she's had for a long time. I don't like, I think last year really affected her in a lot of ways, but this season you can tell that she's a lot more herself.
Also, thank you for the Sweden game because I think that also put a huge chip on her shoulder.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That that was probably the turning point in in her career, both internationally and domestically. It certainly lit a fire under her to just be the best because she is the best.
And she will go to her grave. But she stopped
And
that
so will
PK.
I.
I was there in person and I didn't think it went in, but I couldn't see much of anything. So I have no, but I will stand. If Alyssa said it didn't go in, I believe her.
I'll believe anything that Alyssa says. That's just the way that I live.
But yeah, I'm happy that things are going better this season for her and for our defense. And I still think that we're sitting in a really good spot overall in the league. I think that we're starting to figure stuff out as well, and that's kind of scary because I feel like we're just going to get better as the season moves forward.
I hope they do get better. Um, I can feel in certain spots on the field that they'll get better. I think in a space like with Natalia being back on that right side, being able to push forward more, I think will come against teams that aren't, you know, Kansas
Kansas
City.
City.
uh, and so hopefully we'll see more of that. Like during the Wrigley game, she was at left back to sort of uh, handle Kundananji in that first half, and then she got taken off because of international minutes restriction stuff, and so I'm glad she's back on that right side, and I think that will help that right side develop more, and then hopefully this new formation will help the midfield sort of change their ways because that's really an issue. It was still an issue in this match, but it hopefully something changing tactically will push them forward against the upcoming North Carolina Courage and beyond.
Yeah, I'm hoping that they just need time to figure it out in the midfield a little bit with the new formation and make something happen. Because if they can possess in the midfield, look out.
Yeah, possession would be nice, but that's not
Yeah,
the way the team plays.
that's fair. That's fair.
Speaking of things that the team doesn't possess, we'll come off this match to wrap this up, but they don't own SeatGeek Stadium. SeatGeek Stadium is part of the village of Ridgeview. And on September 21st, the Red Stars have a match against San Diego. The city of Bridgeview, village of Bridgeview, is allowing Riot Fest, a music festival, to move its venue to the parking lots of SeatGeek Stadium the same weekend and same day that the Red Stars will be hosting a match. It's a messy situation. If you don't know the full details on the situation, there are multiple sides to the story, both from Bridgeview and the club. Several different publications around Chicago have uh, been writing articles about it. Sun-Times, Tribune, everything. It's quite a mess. I don't know if they'll move the match. There's been like Bridgeview's things mentioned them having to move the match. Other sources say that they're just going to have to figure out ways to play at the same time. It's a mess. It's a big mess. But ultimately, it's just all the more reason that they need to have possession of their own stadium, and do something about that in the future.
Yeah, it was really disappointing to hear because and for a variety of reasons. Obviously, you have only a few different places you can play games. If you need to move, it's short notice. It's everybody kind of already has plans, and then you've got the whole TV aspect to it where Ion, it has them as part of the doubleheader. They're the 8:30 kickoff for the doubleheader, and so there's all of these like penalties and fees that could come into play if they can't get the game played on this day at this time. It's a mess, and I really hope that something is worked out because I feel like having a concert playing in the parking lot during a game is not going to be ideal for so many different reasons, noise being first and foremost, because how are you going to hear? I mean, I looked at some of the band names, like they're big bands, like they're going to be loud. It's going to be, and then you've got parking, you've got all of the things that are going to be happening. I don't know. I just hope that something can get worked out. I do think it's a kind of a load of crap that the village of Bridgeview is saying that it's not a breach of contract because they're not going to be using the stadium. But it's like, but you're going to be using the parking lot and having a full blown concert in the parking lot of the stadium. So I feel like that is kind of a breach of contract. But again, I don't know the legalities and things here. So just in my opinion, I hope that something can be worked out. But it sounds like Soldier Field has a college football game that day at their place, and then Wrigley's out of the question. And we all know that they're not. Laura Ricketts is not going to be going and having the game where the White Sox play at whatever their stadium's called now, with all that's been bought out so many times. I don't even know. It's not Comiskey. Is it guaranteed rate or whatever?
Or is it?
Yeah, you know that Laura Ricketts is not
insurance or something. I don't know.
They're not having the game there. That's not happening.
No, the logistics that come with that are crazy enough. You're not gonna do that. I don't know why that would even be an option.
No.
Obviously, everyone's been throwing out different options where they can certainly attempt to play this match, but I really do think in reality, in the end, they're probably just going to have to end up playing the match at SeatGeek, which is crazy. And like the Village of Bridgeview says, we've in their contract, it says we can hold concurrent events and stuff. And it's like the last concurrent event that they held was just like a carnival in the back parking lots. And it's like, that's way different than a music fest with several stages playing music at the same time. I don't know. It's wild. It's a crazy situation. It's just another time that, Bridgeview has screwed over the Red Stars. It's a contract that predates this ownership and this leadership of this club. So it's something that they inherited, which is also just an issue. It's sadly what they signed up for buying this club was all the crap that was left in the wake of the previous ownership. And we'll find out how this gets resolved. Luckily, this is a match in September and not July or August.
Well, part of me wondered if the Village of Bridgeview since they own SeatGeek, and ownership has been very vocal about how they want out of SeatGeek. They are going to build their own stadium. They're going to do this, whatever. Part of me wondered if they're like, all right, we don't care. We're going to do this. And so what? Like, technically, we're not breach of contract. You guys say you want out of here. So why do we care? We're going to make money. We want this so we can have them moving forward. So why do we care type of thing? And that's just me completely speculating on that. But it just makes you wonder if that's a possibility. But in a moment right now where women's sports are on such a rise, across the board, across all sports, and the NWSL is gaining so much momentum. The Red Stars have this huge game at Wrigley Field. You get this massive crowd, and then to come crashing down with this news right after the week after this game, the game at Wrigley happens. It's such a slap in the face to the Red Stars, to women's sports in general, and the Village of Bridgeview should be ashamed.
Doesn't it kind of always feel like that happens with women's sports? Like something massive happens and it finally takes the headlines of like mainstream publication, and it's something that people outside of the fandom or the sport or whatever are talking about, and then immediately it's followed by just something that also takes those headlines that is just the opposite end of the spectrum, that just diminishes the importance or the spotlight of whatever happened previously. It just seems to continuously happen, and it's frustrating to watch.
Yeah, it feels like that across the board, and that's why you just are always so hesitant to like be excited, because you're like, oh, what's coming? What's going to happen? Now, what are we going to have to deal with? And it really right on the heels of that huge game at Wrigley for this to come out. And it's like, really? Like, this is what they have to deal with. Like, this is what's going to happen. You're going to have a concert in the parking lot during the game. Like, it sounds fake, to be honest. It sounds
It
like it's
does.
fake.
It does. And the Village of Bridgeview to come out or the mayor and say, this had nothing to do with gender. And it's like
Okay.
you can say that, but the fact that, you even have to sort of defend that should sort of tell you everything, because they've consistently favored the other teams and events that happen at SeatGeek over the Red Stars. They've continuously favored the rugby team, the Fire, any event that happens there. It's always been them over the Red Stars. That is the way it's been, and they can't say that that's not gender based.
Oh, yeah, it absolutely feels like it is. And again, if you have to acknowledge it, then there's a reason you have to acknowledge it. And it's really junky. I don't like it at all. But it's just another reason and proof again that they need to get out of there. And hopefully this is just going to spur on their movement to get that happening. I'm sure that there's things happening behind the scenes that we're all unaware of at this point, but I hope that they can find some sort of resolution, but it just doesn't feel like it, because I'm assuming that wherever they choose to have the game would have to be approved by the league. San Diego would probably have to approve it, and then the Red Stars would have to be okay with it. They'd have to figure out all the logistics of it. And yeah, it's in September, but still, that's a lot to get done in a very short amount of time.
Yeah, because they have to do staffing, security. It has, like you said before, it has to be a facility that can manage the broadcasting equipment, and it has to be able to have the connectivity to do anything like VAR and all the camera work. Like there's so much logistical stuff that comes with setting up a stadium for a match, that you can't just say, oh, we can't play here, we'll just go next door. Like you can't do that. And or at least you can't do that easily. So I'm sure it's, it's a nightmare for fans, people who were planning to come into town, who, don't know where they're going to be going or where they're going to be staying if they were staying overnight, especially with a late kickoff like that. Uh, it it's then a nightmare for, it's even more of a nightmare for the team, um, its players, its staff, its leadership, to have to figure all of this out.
Yeah, it's tough. And I'm sure for San Diego, they're also like, okay, what are we going to be walking into on this as well? Because that's kind of a tricky situation because you're going to have all of this stuff going on. And so you just hope that whatever, maybe it'll rain that day and they'll have to not have the concert, or maybe they'll call the game and they can just reschedule it and then we won't have to deal with it. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, I really don't know what's going to happen. It's an unfortunate situation, um, for a team that has to deal with so much anyway within the last several years, and just another thing added onto the pile.
Yep,
It sucks.
it does. But hopefully in a few weeks we'll have a resolution.
Yeah. But on a happy note, the club itself is progressing, moving forward. Got a draw against the top team in the league. Now they'll move on to the North Carolina Courage, who are sort of hit or miss right now, which is good for them. We'll see, we'll see what happens. Hopefully, a win sort of comes out of it. But with that, we'll wrap things up this week. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Make sure that you're subscribed to those platforms to know when our next episodes go up. Make sure you're also following us at Red Stars Report on all of our social media channels to keep up with the latest news between the episodes. Don't forget to join our Discord with the link in the description. The next time you see us, we'll be recapping that North Carolina Courage match. And with that, we'll see you next week for another Red Stars Report. Also, congratulations to Liz again for joining the team. And now
Happy to be here.
we'll end the show. Have a good week, everybody.